So, in one of my previous videos, I mentioned how I really don't like book series at all, and how I could probably do a whole series of videos about book series. And so today I wanted to talk about some book series that I probably won't finish, or if I do finish, they're not like top priority for me. I tried to sort this list from book series I'm least likely to finish to book series I'm most likely to finish. And there are a lot of popular books on this list, so I'm sorry. Just because I don't plan to finish them doesn't mean that they're not good books, or, they might work for you. They just didn't necessarily work for me. Okay, the first book, I actually don't have a physical copy because I unhauled it. I used to own this whole series and I do not anymore. So it is the Illuminae files by Amie Kaufman and Kristoff. I read the first two books in this series, Illuminae and Gemina, and the first one I read a physical copy, and these books aren't written in a typical format. They have a lot of different case files and transcripts and visualizations in them. And so I tried to read the physical copy first and it just didn't work for me. And I heard that the audiobooks were really good, so I read the audiobook for the second one, and I still didn't really like it. I felt like the dialogue was painful. It was it was just trying too hard. It was really cheesy, and it just wasn't working for me, so I do not plan to read the third book. Second on the list is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I know that this book is loved by so many people, and it just didn't really work for me. I thought it was too long. It didn't hold my attention. I don't really like the battle school setting that seems to be really popular these days, and so it just wasn't something that I enjoyed reading, and I don't really plan to read any of the other books in this series. Number 3 is The Giver by Lois Lowry. I did read the first two books in this series, The Giver and Gathering Blue, and the books in this series aren't really direct sequels. They're just kind of all set in the same world, and they build off of each other. But I didn't really care for Gathering Blue, and I felt like part of the thing that was great about The Giver is kind of the mystery of the world. And I felt like learning more about this world almost cheapened the effect. It made me appreciate it less in a way. And so there are two more books, Messenger and Sun. And I do own Messenger. Sun just came out a few years ago, and supposedly it's supposed to tie them all together. I don't know if it actually does or not. But I think I'm better, I'm okay with leaving it as is without finding out more of the answers of this world. So I know the next book I'm almost scared to say because so many people love this series, but it is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, and I keep trying to read her books. And I read Vicious, I read its sequel, Vengeful, I read all of A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, but there's something about her writing style that I just don't like very much. It seems very formulaic to me. The sentence structure is the same throughout the whole book, and it's hard because I love her concepts, and her books are beautiful and have so many fans around the world that I really want to be a part of that fandom, but I just don't like the actual writing very much. And so I don't think I'm going to read the rest of this series when they come out. They're not out yet, but I think that there's at least one more book in this series, and I'm not really planning to read it unless it gets crazy good reviews. So the next book, I also don't have a physical copy anymore because I got rid of it, but it is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and I actually really enjoyed this book. I mostly listened to it on audio, but I did have a physical copy, and I felt like it was beautifully written. It was a little too long, and some of it was kind of confusing, but I did not like the way that it ended. It burned me so much that I don't really want to read the sequel. Although I might be open to reading the sequel if I hear from enough people that it's worthwhile. So the next book on this list is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read the first book on audio, and our main character, Selena, is an assassin, which again, it's just a trope I don't really like that much. And I did not like the first book. But then I read the second book. I think it's Crown of Midnight. And I did really like the second book. I gave it 4 stars, which is a pretty good rating from me. And I own the ebook to the third one. I think the third one is the point where the story kind of pivots and goes in a different direction. And I don't know if I'm going to like that direction as much. So I'm kind of willing to read the third one, even though it's crazy long. But I don't know if I will read the rest of the series after that, unless I absolutely love the third one. So next we have Half Bad by Sally Green. And I read this book really quickly, and I felt okay about it. I own the whole series, though, because I really like the covers. I think that they're beautiful. And I liked it enough to continue, but it's been several years now, and to be honest, I don't even remember much of what happened in this book. And so I don't really want to get rid of them because I think that the covers are just beautiful, and I know that's not really a good reason to keep a book, but here we are. But I don't know. I don't really hear anyone talking about this book series anymore, and so I don't know if it's worth continuing. I don't know if I will like the 2 books that come after this one or not. So it's kind of like, if I get around to it, I might continue this series, but it's not my top priority right now. Next we have Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. And again, I read this several years ago and I liked it at the time, but I wanted more dragons in it because this is a world where, I believe, if I remember right, this is a world where people can turn into dragons. But we didn't really see that happen a lot in this book. And again, the sequel is pretty large, and I have the ebook, but I don't know. It's almost like if I knew more about the plot, if I knew that there would be more dragons, I might be more inclined to read it. But as it stands, I'm not sure how much I would enjoy it. So yeah, if you've read the sequel, let me know if there are more dragons, and then I might be more inclined to actually read it. Next, again, this series is so beloved by many, I'm almost afraid to even talk about it, but it is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. And I read the first book, The Raven Boys, and I did like it. It took me forever to get through, but once I did, I actually did enjoy it. Even though it's kind of paranormal magical realism, and that is not a genre I like very much. And I hear from everyone that the second book is the best. And I have tried to pick up the second book and got through like a chapter and wasn't really feeling it, so I put it back down again. And I actually don't own the series. I loaned them from my sister. The second book is more about Ronan, I believe, and exploring his ability. And something about that part of it doesn't draw me in as much as the other parts. Like Blue and her family, I find to be super interesting, and I want to know more about them. But I don't know, maybe the second book focuses on Ronan and then it comes back around and pulls them all together. But I don't know. I guess I just have to get through the second book, and that does seem to be the one that people enjoy the most. So maybe it's worth a shot. And the last book on the list is the Percy Jackson series. So I have read the first 2 books, and I did enjoy the first 2 books, even though, again, you kind of have this urban fantasy vibe with this series that I don't love. But it's more middle grade and kind of charming, and I really like the characters and their dynamic, and so I want to finish this one. Of all the books on this list, this is the series that I want to finish the most, but again, it's just not super high on my priority list. So those are 10 book series that I may or may not finish. Let me know in the comments which of these I definitely need to finish at all costs. Okay, bye. Hey, Rex. Rex. It seems very formulaic. The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang? Probably Kuang. Okay. And the second book, I believe, is more about Ronan. Is that his name? Man, people are gonna butcher me in the comments.